Welcome into the Keepers Fantasy Football Show. I'm the host, Paige DeMacos, here with Chris Schubert, and we also have Periscope on my iPhone here.
Paige, I'm really glad
that's also going on.
I'm really glad you're back because
I'm
hosting
sorry.
on my own.
I'm sorry to the viewers that had to deal with Chris and Jamie by themselves.
Yeah, we're going to retire.
That was a train wreck, and I promise never, ever to get sick ever again.
Yeah, you can't get sick ever again. They're not even going to hang my jersey in the rafters. It's not even going to happen.
They're never going to do that for you?
No.
Chris, are you disappointed?
Not really. I deserved it.
Upset?
I deserved it after the performance I put in on Sunday. I don't deserve the jersey to go up.
Rate your performance on a fantasy football scale. Was it a 1? Was it a -1?
It was Andy Dalton week 1 level of performances.
I'm glad I didn't have to watch
4 interceptions and everything.
And I'm sorry for everybody else. But let's start off with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Let's start off with that injury. I'm going to start this Periscope, so I'm going to kick things off to you so I can get
this
set up.
Yeah, you talk to Periscope.
And if you want to find this Periscope, if you're watching or you're watching at work and you're like, dang, I can't keep the live stream up, go to _sports page with an I. You can find me. I'm about to start this. You can send in questions and be watching it the whole time.
So you good? You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Aaron Rodgers and what happened.
So Aaron Rodgers, he's probably going to miss the remainder of the season with this collarbone injury that he suffered in the game on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. I know there's a lot of people wondering whether or not if it's a dirty hit or not. Didn't look that dirty to me. It just looked like just a tough play. Actually, the very same play that you saw Jameis Winston kind of get hurt on later on in the afternoon during the afternoon slate of games. And I think when you're very distracting when you're waving the Periscope. I'm sorry, you're really distracting me here.
They're waving at me high.
So Aaron Rodgers, the collarbone injury is going to miss probably the remainder of the season. That leaves Brett Hundley as the starter there in Green Bay. And if you're an Aaron Rodgers owner, you probably took him as the first quarterback off the board. You're in a lot of trouble now, and you're going to need to figure out who your next quarterback's going to be. I think I got some solutions for you.
You do got some solutions?
Yeah, if you hadn't already picked up Deshaun Watson, and you probably missed out on that opportunity.
So here's the thing. Remember last week we introduced a thing called Trade Tuesdays, which we'll get into a little bit later.
I have a good one this week.
But one of the things I talked about with Rodgers is that I had Rodgers and I had Deshaun Watson.
Yep.
So luckily for me,
you're fine.
I was hesitant because I was going to trade. I was like, oh, I'm going to start Rodgers the rest of the year. I'm going to trade away Watson. I'm going to get high value for him. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to wait one more week. I'm going to wait one more week and see what happens. And sure enough, Aaron Rodgers goes down. Now I have Deshaun Watson. I'm one of the lucky ones.
You're lucky.
Okay? I'm one of the lucky ones. I got away with the fact that I drafted Deshaun Watson. Nobody knew that he was going to be the starting quarterback, let alone the guy that he is now. So I got lucky. For everybody else, the answer simply is Brett Hundley for now. What it is going forward, we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't really looked into any of the matchups this week and looked at any specifics to see if there are any good matchups. But I know in a lot of my leagues, Trevor Siemian's available, Jared Goff is available. Those may not be bad stopgap options maybe before you can make a trade for another quarterback. Jared Goff's put up some consistent numbers. Same thing with Trevor Siemian. Even in that game on Sunday where he struggled, he still put up, 16, 17 fantasy points. If you're in a PPR league and you can get some production elsewhere, that will work. So there are definitely options out there. And as we get later on in the week, probably on the Thursday show, I may have some better options for everyone as to who to replace Aaron Rodgers with.
Guys, let's we got some questions here.
Already? It's a Tuesday. We got questions already.
We gotta get into this.
Do they follow the theme?
They follow the theme in that they're fantasy football related.
All right, I wanted to do some trades. That was what I was hoping for.
But Periscope, I'm looking at you. Live stream, I'm looking at you. Send in your trade requests now. If you have a trade, if you're worried, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should facilitate this trade or not. Send them in.
Yes.
Send them in.
Absolutely.
But this one's for Periscope. This one came in, and this one is about Cam Newton. And they wanted to know whether or not we believe in Cam Newton because I'm going to recall a Periscope that was probably about 4 weeks ago where we were bashing on him, but he looked horrible. He's since recovered. Didn't have exactly a tremendous week.
No.
But he's bounced back. Do you believe in Cam Newton? I'll let you go first.
Yes, I do, and here's why. Consistency. I look at trends. It's not just one game where he's done this. It's now 3 straight games.
Yep.
It's the New England game where he had the breakout performance. It's the game against the Lions where they had a breakout performance. And yes, they lost that game, and yes, he didn't play all that great. He still put up numbers, though. He still put up good production. So I think you are now starting to see Cam Newton kind of return to that MVP form, and he's going to continue to produce because he's able to run the ball on the ground. That adds more value to him. So, yes, if you still have Cam Newton, there's no reason to not evaluate him as a QB1 each and every week. Now, if you have a guy like Deshaun Watson backing up Cam Newton, then you got to make some tough decisions every week. This week, Watson's on a bye, so you can go with Cam Newton, but you have a situation where you can, on a week-to-week basis, make the right call with Newton or somebody else. But I think Newton's a guy you keep on your roster for now.
This is so entertaining.
Yeah, you're over there.
So many things.
You're over here in your own little world.
So much fun.
Do you just want to go over there and do the show by yourself?
So
and I'll hang out with the live stream people.
We got a couple of different questions here. Somebody asked whether or not they should sit Tom Brady. Hello. Do not sit Tom Brady.
Sit Tom Brady?
What in tarnation makes you think that you should be sitting Tom Brady? I'm so baffled by what's going on Periscope right now. Like, Periscope, I love you. Twitter, I love you.
3 touchdowns?
But why?
2 touchdowns over the weekend?
No, you're not sitting Tom Brady. No, that's not happening.
That's poor.
I don't even know where to go with that. I don't even know where to go next, other than we got another question up here, and I like this question.
All right.
I like this one a lot because these are 2 quarterbacks who play a very similar style quarterbacking.
Okay.
That's Cam Newton and that's Russell Wilson. They both pick you up points with their legs.
Because they're a ground
they
game.
both have the opportunity to score you a lot of points. This is the Seahawks coming off a bye, so they had a little rest. That's always good for quarterbacks. Usually that means they're always going to be able to score you a little bit more points. They're rested. They recuperated. It gives them an extra week to prepare.
Give Pete Carroll an extra week to prepare.
Yeah, you give Pete and it's a trend. We like to buy into the trends. The Seahawks get better every year in October.
Yes, they do. September's always a struggle thing.
September's bad. October's a little better. We're starting to get towards the end of October. And Russell Wilson has been having some pretty good games. So who do you like more, Russell Wilson or Cam Newton?
This is a bit of a leading question because you may know the answer to this. Where do you think Cam Newton ranks among quarterbacks right now? What spot do you think he would be in? You could pick any. Now, we know Deshaun Watson's one.
I think he's about 5th overall.
That's exactly where he is. He's QB 5 right now. Where's Russell Wilson?
Cool. He's 3.
QB 12.
But that's because he was out last week.
But
it's one less week.
But he does have one less game, and that's fair. But I mean,
one less game.
But right now, Cam Newton, even despite those early struggles where he was not able to put up points, he has put himself in a conversation where he's the top 5 quarterback every week. So I'd go Cam Newton.
I would love to see where Russell Wilson was 2 weeks ago when they were both evenly.
Yes,
that's where
fair.
Because that was where he was quarterback 3.
And Russ could very easily have a really good game this weekend and return to his previous form. But I look at this right now, and Cam Newton is playing well the last 3 weeks. He's moving up the charts. Look, 3 weeks ago, we wouldn't talk about Cam Newton as a top 5 fantasy quarterback option. Yet now we are. These last 3 weeks have changed things. So if you have Cam Newton, well, I always talk about trends, right? Ride the hot hand for now. And once Cam has that bad week, then you jump off the bandwagon and you maybe go to a Russell Wilson.
All right, so we got to go back to the Rodgers stuff. What are you doing here? What do you feel most comfortable? Because if you had Aaron Rodgers and now you're going to Brett Hundley, you're not going to get the same type of production.
I'm not doing that. I'm not going to Brett Hundley.
Not doing that.
I'm going to one of the guys that played in last night's Monday Night Football game.
Okay.
I'm taking Jacoby Brissett. This is a guy that week in and week out has been a very good fantasy option. I look at Blake Bortles, king of the garbage time touchdown. He can get you enough fantasy points.
Sure.
Look, if my options are Brett Hundley or the field, there's probably enough options in the field. I don't love it. I don't love playing Blake Bortles because of the interceptions. I don't love playing Jacoby Brissett because the Colts are probably going to throw the ball a lot. That means more interceptions for a young quarterback. But you know what? Brissett, Jared Goff, Josh McCown had a really good game. 354 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Patriots.
Some of these guys are available.
Out there.
Yeah.
They're out there in your league, so you can very easily get a guy that you're comfortable with. Look, you're not getting the production of Aaron Rodgers. You need somebody else, but you can get the production that you need at the quarterback position and then hope to be able to improve elsewhere.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. I'm not starting. I got a lot of questions on both Periscope and on Twitter about what you're supposed to do with Rodgers, and the simple answer is
you don't
you're not. And all these guys, how they're going to perform without their key guy. Now, when I have 2 of these guys. I have Jordy Nelson and I have Davante Adams. I'm starting Jordy Nelson, but I'm sitting Davante Adams because I know that Jordy Nelson's going to probably get a majority of the touches, and I don't trust Brett Hundley to get rid of the ball and get enough catches to Davante Adams.
This is going to be really funny because you know whose stock goes up because of this?
Martellus Bennett, who sucked thus far.
He has been atrocious this far in the fantasy season. A lot of people banked on him being part of this high-octane offense. Now you have a relatively young quarterback who doesn't have a whole lot of experience. And I know I sound like a broken record, but they go to the tight end. They go to their safety valve. And that means Ty Montgomery's value goes up. Aaron Jones's value goes up. And I think Martellus Bennett's value goes up as well. So that's a guy that if you hung on to, you may be able to reap the rewards of that. Can I profess my love for somebody right now?
You can profess your love, but I do want to quickly get to the fact that I do think Martellus Bennett's value does go up because I don't think it could get any lower. It can't get any lower than it's possibly been, and it's not. He has to become a part of this offense with Aaron Rodgers out because you know that the check down is going to happen. You know that they're going to go to the tight end, and you're just going to have to be able to play a part of that offense. Good about Ty Montgomery, but the wide receivers is where this is going to take a hit. I think the only one I love is Jordy Nelson.
All right.
Go ahead, profess your love. Go ahead, Chris.
Ryan, suck up. You are my hero. I was down I think it was like 15 points going into last night's Monday Night Football game. And I needed a 15, 16 point performance from Ryan Succop of the Tennessee Titans to save it. And I could have dropped him from Adam Vinatieri. I didn't because I knew I was going to regret the decision later. Ryan Succop saved me my fantasy matchup. Paige, I don't mean to brag, but I went 3-0 in all of my fantasy leagues this week. 3-0.
Chris is bragging.
Undefeated.
He went 3-0.
I mean, for me, that's a big deal. 3-0, undefeated.
I'm giving Periscope love.
Yeah, Periscope's got all the love.
I'm giving live stream love. I'm getting tons of questions. I love
let's
it.
keep going.
They're making fun of you. They're saying hello to you. This is good stuff.
No, let's bring it on. Let's go with more questions. I'm cool with it.
This is great stuff. They love the input on Cam Newton. What we're getting into now is some trades. So I know you got a trade.
I have one that
and then we're going to get into my trade, and then everybody on Periscope, I want you, and on live stream, if you have stuff to go left or right, you send those trades into us, and this is what we're doing for you. We're saying yes or no, and in some cases, hell no, because I got a couple of those this weekend.
So this trade offered to me this morning, I have already declined it.
You already declined it.
I would
absolutely not.
Absolutely
no trade.
not.
No
because
way.
And when I tell you the name of who's involved, you're going to know why I did this.
Okay.
I would be giving up Sterling Shepard.
So giving up Sterling Shepard.
And in return, I would be getting Mike Williams.
So Mike Williams
of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay.
And Hunter Henry of the Los Angeles Chargers.
No way. And Hunter Henry.
And mainly because Hunter Henry's in the trade, and I don't want Hunter Henry. But does everybody know that the Giants don't have any wide receivers, and if Sterling Shepard comes back, he's going to be their main target?
Yeah, and you have to feel comfortable. The Giants just went into Denver
and won a football game.
Okay,
without
one of the top
tier,
without Sterling Shepard. When Sterling Shepard comes back, his value is higher than it's ever been because Odell Beckham Jr. is not playing and Brandon Marshall is not playing. So you feel good about having Sterling Shepard.
Plus, this is in that league where if you get them from under $25 in our auction league, you can protect them at the end of the season.
For sure.
I did not pay $25 for Sterling Shepard.
So this is a guy you could keep.
This is a guy that I could end up keeping at the end of the year if I wanted to get a cheap wide receiver.
Love a good keeper league.
I love a good keeper.
Okay, so my trade that was offered to me.
Okay.
For Deshaun Watson.
So this is a no immediately.
Like I don't even know why it was sent.
Yeah.
I don't even know why when they saw that Aaron Rodgers was hurt.
They were like, "Hey, let me get Deshaun Watson." Who's on a bye this week, by the way.
Let me try and get Deshaun. That's the thing. I need to go out and get a scrub dub quarterback now because I have Deshaun on a bye.
Jacoby Brissett.
I'm going to get Jacoby Brissett. That's who I'm going to start. But somebody offered me, and we're going to get into this guy, love Mark Ingram and what he did this week. But they offered me straight up.
Drew Brees?
No.
Okay.
Mark Ingram for Deshaun Watson.
No. I love Mark Ingram.
Who am I? Okay, like who the hell am I going to start at quarterback? Mark
Who are your
Ingram?
running backs? Just out of curiosity, who are your running backs?
I have Le'Veon Bell.
So we're not replacing Ingram with Bell.
I have Melvin Gordon.
We're not replacing Gordon with Ingram.
And I have AP. No.
Who, despite
me telling you not to start
and
AP,
me as well,
okay,
he had a pretty good week.
I took AP and I said, you know what? I don't have any better flex options. I got a lot of guys on a bye. I'm going to throw AP in there.
Worked out pretty well.
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah, Mark Ingram probably doesn't fit into that lineup anywhere.
No.
So I don't even know on the surface if it works.
Let's get to a quick question here.
Sure.
We got Goff or Hundley this week to stream. So they have somebody sitting, and they have they have Jared Goff, and they have Brett Hundley.
Now I know Jared Goff's going up against the Arizona Cardinals this week, and that's been a really good defense.
And it's in London, which does some funky things.
It's in London, does some funky things. I'm taking Jared Goff.
Yeah,
over
100%
Brett Hundley.
Jared Goff.
I think you can look at him. And again, that's why I said I haven't really looked at the matchups this week to see if there are anything that's beneficial here. But Jacoby Brissett, Josh McCown, Jared Goff, these are the guys that I know are available in my leagues, and they're available in a lot of leagues. These are some of the guys you need to consider. Look, it's not Aaron Rodgers. It sucks, I know. But these are guys that should be able to score you enough points if the matchup is right. And you may have to go to a situation where you're dropping Ned quarterbacks every week. You may have to play the matchup game. That's where you're going to win, though. If you're able to play that matchup game successfully, and that's what we kind of try to provide here on the show is that matchup-based intel.
For sure.
That's really where you're going to be able to win. And I think you have to really look at those guys. There's going to be more. Blake Bortles on certain weeks is going to be good, especially if it's a chance for them to run the ball and not throw the ball as much. So I think there are enough options out there for you to get by if you're an Aaron Rodgers owner, but it certainly sucks.
Yeah, I'm definitely starting Jared Goff just because he's somebody who has proven himself thus far this year. You have no idea what you're going to get from Brett Hundley. Another one we got that just came in was Matt Ryan. And how we feel about Matt Ryan overall as a fantasy quarterback. I know that he had a tough week at home against Miami, but you're starting Matt Ryan. It's Matt Ryan. Like I'm not starting Matt Ryan in fantasy
until
football.
Matt Ryan gets hurt or this becomes a 3, 4, 5 week thing.
They got way too many offensive weapons. It's an outlier game. You can't base things off of 1 week. You throw out the best and the worst, and then you find the average.
Look, if everybody was good, like if every fantasy player played the way they were supposed to, everyone would be 16-0. Like that's impossible. You can't go 16-0. Everyone's going to lose games, and this just so happened to be the week where the Falcons lost and Matt Ryan didn't play well. You probably drafted him, QB2, QB3 in a lot of leagues. So you're in a situation where you can't give up on Matt Ryan just yet. I still think he's a long-term play. I'm shocked that even anyone who had Matt Ryan would consider dropping him. I mean, I think people who have Derek Carr should be in a much trickier situation than Matt Ryan owners. If you're a Matt Ryan owner, you're comfortable at the quarterback position. You probably have other things you should be worrying about.
Okay, we got another quarterback question. This is Tyrod Taylor or Kirk Cousins. I know where I'm going. And I'll let you go first.
No, it's
Kirk Cousins.
This is
120%.
easy. Kirk Cousins had a really good game last week.
Yep.
He played incredibly well.
Washington might be one of the best teams in football. They might be. They're a good football team.
I question that receiving core. Terrell Pryor.
Sure.
Terrell Pryor has not been the player that I thought he was going to be in this offense, and I thought early on he was going to struggle because he's getting used to a new offense. It hasn't really gelled. Josh Doctson finally caught a touchdown.
Yep.
I mean, that's a great thing for him. Jordan Reed's been healthy. That's nice. They have a running game. So, yes, they have all the pieces there.
Yeah.
But, again, I'm a trend guy. I need to see it consistently. I think we saw they barely survived. Let's not forget they barely survived against the San Francisco 49ers this week.
Barely.
So,
but
they could have very easily lost that game. But they didn't. They won the game, and that's good. And they're in a tough division. That Philadelphia Eagle team, I think, is complete.
Yeah, I think
both sides of the ball, they play
yeah,
incredibly well.
The Eagles team might be the only team that we know. I mean, every team has had a bad loss. It's been a weird NFL season.
My phrase so far is nobody's good.
Yeah, you said everybody sucks.
Everybody sucks in the NFL right now. Everybody's bad. Nobody's good. Not even the Chiefs are good. If there is a team that I think might be good, it might. I can't believe I'm going to say this. It might be the Fighting Carson Wentz's. It might be the Philadelphia Eagles.
Carson Wentz's.
It
wow,
really
is
might
that the name of your fantasy team?
It might be pretty soon.
The Fighting Carson Wentz's.
They're getting the running game. LeGarrette Blount's finally getting involved. Nelson Aguilar is being a really good number 2 to Alshon Jeffrey. I'm finally on the Zach Ertz bandwagon. He's been a really productive fantasy player
Finally, Chris has come to the light. He realizes that Zach Ertz is the tight end. He is that dude. I've been saying it for, 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Now you missed,
and Chris finally decided to jump board.
You missed my tight end call on Sunday.
What was your
my crush of the week?
Did you have a bad one or a good one?
It was a good one. Ryan Griffin of the Houston Texans.
Ryan Griffin, good
10.8 fantasy points, one of the top tight ends last week. So I did pretty well in that regard. Now, I was talking about the Eagles.
Yes.
The defense is really good, too, with Fletcher Cox and Ronald Darby potentially coming back.
We had a couple of questions come in about defenses, too.
Okay.
How we feel about the Minnesota Vikings defense.
Still love them.
Still high on Minnesota Vikings defense. They are able to score points. They're able to do things every week. I love Eagles, especially Fletcher Cox coming back, being healthy, the ability. You just got to buy into these teams that are good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the Vikings defense still has another matchup against a Brett Hundley-led Packers team.
Sure do.
And then another matchup against, no offense, a Mitchell Trubisky-led Bears team.
For sure.
That's a turnover central right there, and that Viking defense can force a lot of turnovers. I'm very high on the Vikings defense.
Yeah, I'm very high on the Vikings defense as well. Let's get into some of these top performances of the week.
There's some good ones.
Okay, one of the questions we got was about our boy Kirk Cousins. So let's kick things off right here with Kirk Cousins.
I mean, he was good. I mean, look at those numbers. 25 of 37, 333 yards, the 3 touchdowns, the 35.1 fantasy points.
35 fantasy points.
That's a complete effort.
I mean,
he was the top fantasy quarterback from last week. He added in the running game. So he did everything he was supposed to do. And you look at that, and in a PPR standard league, I think he ended up around like 27.8 fantasy points. My league had some different metrics. I think that bumped him up to that 35.1. But he got in the end zone with a rushing touchdown, the 2 touchdowns through the air. Just a complete effort from him. And when you can get a quarterback that can throw for over 300 yards, you're probably going to get a lot of fantasy points.
Yeah, no, you love Kirk Cousins' performance this week. And that's why when I got a couple of questions about Kirk Cousins, I said absolutely 120% I'm starting Kirk Cousins because he is good enough. He's shown you consistently over the years, not just this year and past years, that he is a top-tier fantasy football quarterback. That doesn't necessarily mean he is a top NFL quarterback, but fantasy-wise, he always produces because he throws the ball a lot, he gets them in the end zone, and he has that ability through that offense that they run in Washington.
I would say I think he's kind of becoming a really good NFL quarterback.
I think I'm a big fan of Kirk Cousins. I think him and Stafford
are turning the corner this year and changing the narrative on them as just good fantasy options.
I'm definitely big on both of those guys. Okay, Mark Ingram. We're going to talk about this guy.
This is a huge day. I mean, in in a PPR standard league, he scored 30 points this week. 25 carries, 114 yards, the 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
It was just a really good effort from Mark Ingram. And
a good week.
We were questioning, maybe not really questioning, but wanting to see where they would get those 6 to 8 touches that Adrian Peterson was getting there in New Orleans. Where would they put them? I mean, Alvin Kamara had a good day. I mean, it wasn't like Alvin Kamara was bad, but Mark Ingram, the passing game, caught passes out of the backfield, and when you can catch get 5 targets and have 5 catches, that's pretty good. You'll get 5 points right there. Just a complete effort from Mark Ingram. A lot of people were down on him, the last couple of seasons because of some lack of production. He's the guy in this offense, and if you took a chance on Mark Ingram again this year like I did, you're reaping the rewards on a week-to-week basis.
I love the Kirk Cousins to AZ comments that I got on this Periscope. I got a lot of people that are loving on Kirk Cousins, and I definitely get that. 120%. All right, the next guy we're going to get into is a guy that got traded. He was having a tough time in New Orleans, and Adrian Peterson over 30-year-old running back comes to Arizona, and my, oh my, did he have a wonderful performance. Let's talk about this.
We didn't do well on this one. 26 carries, 134 yards.
I started him as a flex.
The 2 touchdowns, 29.4 fantasy points, 25 in a PPR standard league. A lot of these numbers that I have, I think I got from my league, and we do a little bit different scoring.
Yeah, that's okay.
But 25.4 for Adrian Peterson in a PPR standard league.
That's a huge week.
That's a huge week.
Huge week
the
for
26
AP.
carries, the 134 yards. And you want to know what the biggest part about this is? He had all these fantasy points. How many passes did he catch out of the backfield, Paige? Do you know off the top of your head?
5.
0.
0.
He didn't catch a ball out of the backfield yet.
That's because he can't. He doesn't. That's not his game.
But he was a top 4 running back this week without catching balls out of the backfield in PPR standard leagues.
That's because
that's incredible.
Arizona is using him in the way he needs to be used. Adrian Peterson is being used in the way he needs to be used, in the way he wanted to be used in New Orleans, and their offense didn't just couldn't cater to it. Arizona was the worst rushing team in the league. They brought in Adrian Peterson, completely revitalizes this team. It looks like a completely different offense with AP. Do I think this is going to continue?
No, he's not going to put up these type of numbers.
You have to keep in mind that until David Johnson comes back, Adrian Peterson is the guy there. You're not worrying about anybody else taking touches away from him, and he's the number 1 back.
It's one thing to look at the stats and say, oh, Adrian Peterson had a good day. I watched that game, the cuts, it was all there. The speed was there.
Great.
Everything was there.
He looked great.
Those are
vintage AP.
Those are the indicators that I like in terms of fantasy production. I can look at the numbers and say, yeah, he had a good game, it can't continue. The indicators, the on the field, what I saw with my eyes, he's going to be a fantasy option for the rest of the season.
Another guy, another Arizona Cardinal player who had a revitalized good week, who just seems to never go away, and that is Larry Fitzgerald. Fitz is just a guy who continuously, every week, you kind of think he's going to have a bad week, and then he comes back with a huge week.
10 catches, 138 yards, a touchdown on 11 targets. You know he's going to be the top guy in this offense. Close to 28, 30 fantasy points. It was an incredible performance by him. He just continues to be the guy. And yeah, you like the touchdown, you like the 138 yards. I like the 10 catches. That's what I like the most. I like
sure. Larry had a huge week.
If he's getting targeted that much, I mean, you get 10 points just because he catches all those passes, no matter where he goes with the football. So I'm very happy with the fact that he seems to be still the number 1 guy in this offense, hasn't missed a beat, continues to produce at a high level. And, we picked him up in our podcast fantasy league late. He's been our flex the last couple of weeks. It's been really good.
Yeah, you love Larry in that position. You know we got a lot of comments here about the Raiders offensively, about Marshawn Lynch specifically, and what we think is going to happen with that offense. That offense in totality has been a huge disappointment this year. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Derek Carr got injured, so you don't know what's going to happen. Amari Cooper can't catch footballs. That's a huge issue.
That's true.
The only guy I like there is Michael Crabtree. I don't really like. But I mean, the only guy I feel really, truly comfortable with is Michael Crabtree. I'm okay with Cook because the tight end position is just garbage overall. But appointment every week, Marshawn Lynch. I just think that it's so hard after 30 years old to be a good running back, especially after you took an entire year off of football. He had a huge injury in Seattle. I just don't think. I think people drafted him. It's the same with I told people with AP. People drafted him anticipating that he was going to be beast mode again, and you have to know that he was never going to be an RB1 again.
No, that was never going to be the case, and I think the big thing I'm concerned with in the Oakland offense is they could get the passing game going. The running game I expected to maybe be a problem with Marshawn Lynch,
but the passing game you expected that the Raiders were going to be able to pass all over everybody.
Yeah, and this is pre-Derek Carr getting hurt.
Yeah,
they did not have the chemistry that I thought they were going to have, and you look at their receiving core. They didn't add anybody new.
No.
It was holdovers from last year. It was Amari Cooper. It was Crabtree. It was Seth Roberts. It was everybody that they had from a year ago, and they're just not gelling right now. And I don't know what it is. Now you have the back injury. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot from Carr in his return to this lineup. Just good to see him get out there and play.
For sure.
I'm hoping that they're going to turn the corner here pretty soon. They're too talented not to. It's just figuring out and guessing what week it's going to be that they do. It may be this week.
I love this question that just came in.
Okay.
Dez Bryant or a piece of toast? I laughed. I was trying very hard not to laugh while you were talking because Dez struggles. Here's the thing. Dez is still a startable wide receiver in the league. The issue with Dez is that people think Dez is going to the way Tony Romo was. And so if you're expecting Dez Bryant to be the same type of wide receiver in a different offense with a different quarterback, you're going to be very disappointed. That does not mean that he is not a startable wide receiver. It just means you're never going to have the type of production you were getting when Tony Romo was the quarterback.
My sidebar here for a second, but we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys. We got to update everyone on the Ezekiel Elliott situation.
Yeah, let's update people on Zeke and what's going on.
His legal team in the NFL we're told today that there's going to be a ruling from New York, the New York Southern District Court by the end of the day. This coming from Ian Rappaport of NFL. NFL.com and the NFL Network. So we should learn by the end of the day whether or not this suspension is going to stand. Not a legal expert in any sense of the word.
No, Chris is not a legal expert.
I expect this suspension to kind of stay. I don't expect another injunction to be given out here for Ezekiel Elliott. And as a fantasy owner, I would brace for that anyway, just so I'm prepared, just in case the suspension does get upheld. I would have prepared already as soon as Zeke got the suspension put back into place a week ago and pick up Alfred Morris, Darren McFadden, whoever the case may be. Marlon Mack he could have picked up. He was available in a lot of leagues. I snagged him up after his big game, and he performed well last night. Derrick Henry, you could have traded for him, who had a big night last night. So there are options out there.
For sure. Last question here from Periscope, and then Periscope will stick with you after the show's over.
Yeah, we'll get more questions in.
Rodgers out, Alex Smith or Carson Wentz going forward. I love that Alex Smith has been good thus far, but I kind of don't buy into it as much. And I don't want to overreact to one game.
Yeah.
But what I am thinking is that Carson Wentz, this football team in total, I think is a really, really good football team. And I know that Carson can sling the ball around. Alex Smith made me nervous because a lot of the tendencies that came back in this game against Pittsburgh were how Alex Smith has kind of been his whole career. So I think I'm going to throw out the 5-game stretch where he turned into a fantasy god. And I'm going to go, he's probably somewhere in between. He's not what he was this weekend against Pittsburgh, but he's probably not as good as he has been in the previous weeks. So I'm probably starting Carson Wentz going forward.
Yeah, I am as well, because I think Carson has worked on a lot of the mechanical issues that plagued him a year ago. He's making better decisions. He's not throwing as many interceptions. He's got big, tall receivers. I mean, he could throw the ball up, and Alshon Jeffrey's going to go get it.
Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey. They got a Zach Ertz. They got a lot of guys to like
there. Options aplenty there in that offense. And look, the Chiefs are down Chris Conley. I think that's a loss that people are not looking at enough in that offense. They need extra pieces outside of Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt. I would go with Carson Wentz. It's weird to say. I didn't think I would say it.
Me neither. I wouldn't have said that at the beginning of the
Wentz.
season. Yep, I'm a big fan of Carson Wentz going forward, and I was doubting him, but he has worked on a lot of those mechanics. Last performance of the week we want to get to here is Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski with a big week.
Yeah, it's good.
Gronk, you always kind of expect to have these weeks, but he has had the injury bug, as he usually does. But, I mean, with this tight end position, if you have a guy like Rob Gronkowski, you're never second-guessing starting this guy.
Yeah, the difference this week was the 2 touchdowns, right?
Yep,
the 6 catches for 83 yards, but the 2 touchdowns are the big play there because it's just a kind of a pedestrian Gronk day. If he only has 6 catches for 83 yards, 2 of them going for touchdowns was the big day. Really the difference in that game for the New England Patriots is they kind of survived against the New York Jets.
Yeah, that was a rough football game.
It was. It was not a great game for them, and I think from Gronk's perspective, it was just good for him to be back on the field, for him to play well, to get in the end zone. He is always going to be Tom Brady's trusted target, as they have a lot of turnover in that wide receiver department. So for him, it's his first touchdown. You know, he didn't play last week against Tampa, didn't score a touchdown in that game against Carolina, so his first touchdown since week 3. That's a good sign.
For sure. Absolutely. Well, Chris, the show went very fast.
I'm glad you're back, because I would not have been able to do this by myself.
I'm glad I'm back, too.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm back here.
The viewers certainly need you to drive
I'm
the
happy to be back. Chris, any parting thoughts on week 2 or a little tease heading into what Thursday show's going to look like?
I will tease the Thursday show. Yep. We do trend Thursdays. I'm looking at some of these other quarterbacks to tell you who to get for in place of Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to look at the Jared Goffs. I'm going to look at the Jacoby Brissetts. I'm going to see what the trends are with these guys, because I think that's the type of stuff that we need to get into on Thursday for a lot of these people who have Aaron Rodgers.
A lot of people 100% owned in every league that exists to mankind because he is the best quarterback in the world. And unfortunately, if you had Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be starting for quite some time, probably the entire fantasy football season. Chris, how can everybody find you on Twitter and send you all angry thoughts?
Yeah, Hunter Henry thoughts, very much welcome my direction, at Chris R. Schubert.
And you can always find me at _sports page with an I. Periscope, I'm coming for you. I'm going to start answering your questions. But for everybody that's been watching the show, thank you. For Chris Schubert, I'm Paige DeMacos. This has been The Keepers.